Well, so about a month ago, I put this bumper together, and it was the first time I had ever bent tubes before, and I think that it turned out pretty well. Before that, I had put this Harbor Freight Badlands winch plate welded to the frame on both sides. So today's project, I'm going to reinforce the winch plate and the bumper at the same time by welding them to each other and then welding them both to the frame. After that's done, I'm going to reinforce the ends of this bumper by supporting them to the outside of the frame and also putting an insert on the ends of these tubes. So first things first, I'm going to support the back of this winch plate to the bumper by adding some plate right here. So I'm going to use this Dollar Tree foam board as a template because it has a similar thickness to about, I would say, a 3/16 or maybe closer to a 1/8 inch. Same as cardboard, except it's easier to cut and it's easier to work with. The other things I'll need is masking tape to tape the foam board together and a knife with a sharp blade to cut it with. So that winch ended right about here, and then because I mounted this winch plate so high, I had to cut out some space for pitman shafts to stick through the actual winch plate. Whenever you cut the back piece, kind of weaken the entire structure. So this point right here, where I've cut out for that pitman arm, not going to be as strong as the rest of the plate. So I'm going to put a piece of metal from where this stops to here and weld that into the bumper somehow. First thing I'm going to do is grab a tape measure, and I'm going to measure about how far this is to the middle of this tube, which is about 8 inches. If I just cut this at 8 inches, that'll be a good start. So, also, a neat trick is, and I learned this doing drywall, is if you hold the tape at 8 inches, you put your hand up against the edge of the drywall or whatever you're cutting, you can use the edge of the measuring tape to score a line. And there you go, there's a nice line as a reference to where you want to cut that. Now, of course, that needs to be about 5 1/4 inches tall. So we can go 5 1/4 inches this way. And that's the piece we're going to start with. So just go ahead and you can see how easy this stuff is to cut. Of course, if you have a sharp razor blade, it's easy to cut. Not that cardboard is hard to cut either, but this kind of works like drywall, where if you score one side, you can fold it over and then cut the other side. That usually leaves you with a pretty good cut edge. So then I'm also going to need to start marking this up with a marker, because now we're going to cut all the little contours and stuff out of there. I know I need to cut it right there, and then about the halfway point to that mark is about right there, and that's just a nice corner piece that gets cut out. Let me switch this blade around. We just talked about a sharp blade for using a dull one. Okay. Right there we go. So then that's gonna go like that. See, we've made a little bit of progress. Now we need to mark the very center of this tube, which is right about there. Okay, so I'm just using a piece of this tube that I cut off, and I'm going to set it on here at about the middle and halfway through this tube, because I want this template to wrap around the tube so that it has the most surface area to weld to. Let me grab another razor blade. Okay, that cuts much better. You could also use an X-Acto knife, and that would work really good too. My dad and I use this stuff to make RC airplanes. And so that's what kind of gave me the idea. There we go. So now I've got those two contours cut out there and there already. You can see that I messed up because I have a big gap there. But because this poster board was only $1.25, I can afford to make those mistakes. So all we've got to do is make this again. However, let me show you my next trick. Take this half circle and draw it again. So this template is going to start out in 2 pieces, and then I'm going to put those 2 pieces together and then retrace it to make one good template. Oh, that's good. That'll give me plenty of room. I'm going to tape them together to make one, and then I'll retrace it, and hopefully I'll only have to do this twice. See there? Pretty much messed it up and fixed it. I didn't have to remake the entire thing and guess. Go ahead and cut this. I'd rather mess up a piece of foam from the dollar store than mess up a good piece of metal. And there we have it. I kind of want, I kind of like the idea of having a little bit of angle in this, just because I'm fighting for room between the winch and the steering gearbox to begin with. Although I do have about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch to work with. I think that's going to fit nicely there. And then we don't need all this material up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the corner all the way there where the top of this bracket is. So knowing those 2 points, I'm going to take a flat edge against the bracket here and mark from point to point. Just like that. And then we can cut that. I love that sound that makes when it cuts there. Like there. And that should do it. That's one bracket template made. It could even stays there by itself. That's pretty neat. Alright, so now this bar, this bumper bar, will support the back of this bracket. It's going to be welded all the way across the bottom and up the back and around this tube, and that's ready to get made into a metal piece. Let me show you how that's going to go. Now I've got a piece of metal that I can use. I was going to use this for some tabs I was making, but this will work for this just perfect. So find my glove and my finger inside my glove. I need thicker gloves. Ow! Ah, broke my chalk. Hey, look at that, a perfect template. Now, I've already cleaned up the edges on here. Now I need to clean up the bottom of this so that I can get this welded into that. Basically just get all the paint off. Put this in there where I think it needs to be welded. I'm going to take my broken chalk and draw a line. And everywhere about an inch around that line, I can take the paint off. I broke my chalk. Favorite color too. It's almost time for a new sanding disc. Now I'm going to get the welder out and tack that thing in there. I found my thicker gloves that I bought from Harbor Freight. I also bought these gauntlets here because I've been burning the crap out of my arms, and then I go hang out with friends and family and I've got new freckles, and that's awfully weird. They are stylish though. I should wear these to the store. These gloves were the biggest size they had. They're already tight, so I don't know how long they're gonna last. When you burn leather, it heats up and then you can't fit your fingers in there anymore. So usually you want to buy a larger size. That way when they get hot and the leather shrinks, you can still fit your hands in there. By the way, if you like this video and you'd like to see more every Monday, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Oh, this is messing me up. I couldn't figure out why the helmet was auto darkening. Shining myself in the face with a flashlight. Alright, here we go. Fire! I'm not sure why I still have my earplugs in. Maybe they're just that comfortable. I just realized that I can't hear myself talk. Sorry if I was yelling at you. Before I do anything else, I want to set the winch in here and make sure that it still fits with this brace in. Lift with your back, not with your legs. Well, your legs, not with your back. However that goes. Bolts line up. Yeah. Okay. I like this because I have a good amount of room. I still have my earplugs in. What am I doing? 7/8 inches. So, in order to strengthen up this bracket, found a solid piece of flat bar stock, which is really neat because we could just weld that straight from the tube to the back of here. And I think that I'll go at a diagonal like that. What do you think of that? I just need to measure how far that is. 8 1/4. I cut a little bevel into the corner. That'll go into the corner, and then we'll weld that right to the middle of the tube, and also weld it to the bracket, and that'll stiffen everything up really good. And I still have plenty of room for my winch to fit in there. This is working out pretty well today. Fire! So the next thing I want to do is weld this lower bar of my bumper to the actual winch plate down in here. I've got this chunk of wood bracing it up because there was a slight bend in this bar because I had cut this part out for my fairlead. So I'm going to weld down inside here and down inside here and a little on this side, and hopefully that just makes this whole front of the truck really strong. Now that that's all welded up and I've burned my arms and have flash burn in my eyeballs, we can make templates for the front of this thing. I wonder if I cooked my soda. Nope. This is the fun part because this is the part that everybody's gonna get to see. Wonder if I should let that cool. No, I think we're good. Actually, that looks pretty good right there. Did I just get that first time? Oh my goodness. I'm so good at this. Not like that. Let's see how that looks. Am I good at this? I might be good at this. Matching this one as far as the height goes. That'll give me the correct depth. What do you think of that? I want to hold them both up to see if they kind of match. Oh yeah. Ooh, that looks nice. One of these is longer than the other, and that's because the only way to get a full-size winch to fit behind the bumper is if you offset it. Let me go get these cool things cut out of metal, and I'll bring it back. We'll tack those on and see how that looks. I'm drawing them out like this because that'll get the most use out of this metal. Otherwise, I'd be cutting it way over there somewhere. We'll save our templates just in case I mess these up. Yeah, stand over there. I don't want you to get sparks in your eyes. Who's calling me? No. Oh yes, that is fantastic. I need to sand these up a little bit. Now, gotta move the foam templates because I don't want to cause a fire. There's already enough fuel, engine oil, steering fluid, paint, my arms. We don't want to set anything else on fire. That looks good. Tap that in right there. We're gonna give my adorable little Lincoln welder a rest and clean this off, and we'll see how it looks. To see how much grinding or sanding that we have to do. Put the tripod down, 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 down. That looks amazing. The inside is welded. We've got a brace for the winch to the front bumper. Now it's time to work on the inside corners of the ends, and I think I have an idea. Alright, so thinking about stiffing up the ends of this bumper, and I have just enough of this 1.5" tube by 1/4" inch that I used to make the panhard bar on this truck. If you didn't know, 1.5" DOM tubing fits inside of 1 3/4" because of math. My plan is to pound this all the way in as far as I can into this, and then weld up the end with a little plate. But also, I'm going to drill a hole in the top of each side so that I could do a little rosette weld. You know what would be good, Thomas? If you locked that in there. Duh. Alright, so this is what comes next. The winch plate comes all the way out to the corner of this frame right here. I'm welding it to the frame stiffener that I installed earlier this year. I would also like to put a piece of angle iron to connect both of these, and that'll make it really strong. Found this piece of angle iron. I'm going to chop this in half. Use one side for one and the other side for the other. It's about 1/8 inch thick. I recognize this. This is from a bed frame. It's also what I use to make my welding cart. Hey, sometimes a good idea looks like a stupid idea, right? Now I suspect this is going to be much stronger with this 1/4-inch tube inserted than if it was just an 1/8-inch thick tube. However, that insert only goes to about here, so we're still in danger of folding this whole thing in. So I'm going to make a brace that goes from the back of this to the frame. Parts. The strongest option would be to have a tube that goes from the middle or somewhere on the end of this bumper and angle in, weld into the frame. On this side, you've got these 3 bolts right here that hold your steering gearbox on. And so anything that I put on here, if I put a bar from here to here, for example, I'm not going to be able to get this bolt out. What I want to do is make a support brace for the other side and then try it on this side to see if this bolt is going to have enough room. You just got to think about these things when you're setting this up, because you could weld yourself into a corner. All right, I started off by beveling this at 45 degrees, which is how much I think I need. And then I'm going to just set that flat against the frame and then look down from above and draw a line so I know where to notch this tube. I'm pretty new at fabricating tubes, so this is all I got. Let me know in the comments if there's a special tool or method that I should be using. Alright, so now I have this tube here that I made. I've notched it on one side and beveled it on the other, and I sanded it down to where it fits perfect on the inside of this bumper end. Now I want to see if this will fit on the other side, and if it does, if that bolt will come out. So it definitely fits good, and of course I'll have to plate this to cover that hole on both sides. But I also want to take a look at this side. It looks like if I just line it up just like that, I'll be able to pull this bolt and the other two. I made another piece just like this one for the other side. I put this plate on there to cover that hole. I'm going to tack this on where I think it should go, which is just about horizontal. And then I'm going to make sure that I can get that bolt out. Alright, see that? I like the way that looks. So I got to chop the bevels on this before it gets too late and I wake the neighbors. And I'll put a plate on where I'm cutting off, and then I'll finish weld these up, and we'll come back when it's all done. These braces turned out perfect. These are now 3/8 thick, and we've got panels on the front, and now it's time to paint it. Alright, I'm all finished up. I got this piece on there, painted, plated, capped off the ends of these. Tires have clearance. I think that looks pretty good, especially now that I have black with the blue, and it just pops. Same on the other side. Braced up pretty good. So anyway, if you do this and you want to keep your radiator up front, you could definitely mount a winch behind the bumper, but you'd have to mount it a little bit lower because you need room for your radiator above the winch. Also, it'd be good to find a winch that has a clockable end on it so that you can reach your free spool lever from the front. I'm mounting my radiator in the back of the truck, so I took the opportunity to make this as much clearance underneath as possible, and then I cut this spot out of the grill so that I can just reach through and I can grab my free spool lever. Anyway,
Well